Hello.
Hi.
How are you doing today, Lynn?
Good. How are you?
It's going to be a long day today.
Oh, I tell you, all these questions from all these parents. Holy cow.
Hello.
Hey, Sherry.
Hey, Sherry.
How's it going?
Hey everyone.
Kyle Lange. Hello, Kyle.
Hello.
And Brooke's here 2 times.
Yeah.
Welcome, Heather. Who else? Sherry, Kyle, Brooke. Chris is here. Chris was here at work today with his Keen. So for those of you in the agenda, I don't have lots of items, but I did, I guess I'll share my screen because it seems to work well. There it is. Oh, I don't want to picture the snipping tool. Where'd you go? All right, these are from the family survey results. And it is 3 o'clock, so I'm gonna get started. So this question asked, how will your child attend school in the fall knowing masks are required? We had 243 responses, so about a little over half, which I thought was pretty good because this is per child. 1 or 2 families did answer just for one of their children. So we're not sure, but they want the new normal. You can see the 86.6%. And I should say this is as of today. And 13.2% want virtual. So that's a little bit higher on virtual than it had been in the past. And then, and if the decision is made for in-person learning, which option would you choose? And 5 days in person is 63%. 4 days in person and 1 day virtual is 25%. And then 12% said they're choosing 5 days virtual. So overwhelmingly, it looks like the parents would like 5 days in person. That's what the board was asking. So based on the results of this particular survey, 9 middle school kids are going virtual, 6 elementary kids are going virtual, and 16 high school kids. So for the elementary, that's lower right now than it was. We had, let's see. We had 9 before. Oh, it's exactly this. No, 9 before, and all but one of them is their new kids. So it was only, so there could potentially be 15 to 16 kids elementary virtual. Then high school, or I skipped middle school. Middle school, currently on this survey as of today, 9 kids are virtual. And there's 2 kids that had been virtual before, but only one of them re-upped. So potentially 1 more could be added to that. And then the high school was the big one, because the high school, we only had 10 virtual before, and now we have 16. But of the 16, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them, one of them did change their mind and went 100% at school. But 5 of them did not choose or did not do the survey. So it looks like more and more of our parents are choosing to choose the virtual option. Hi, Greg, welcome.
Hello.
This is our new math teacher. Linda's here. She's the only one that you can see back here, and then here's my arm, so. And Dave's here today too. Welcome, Dave.
Welcome.
All right, so does anybody have any questions about the survey so far from the parents?
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Okay, and mind you, this is a 1-day thing, or I mean, it's due Friday. They can answer until then. But what we did is we've been doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes right now. So we've been talking to, I've been trying to send out messages all different ways, and we're gathering up a new family email list, and we're creating an email list right in Google versus relying on Skyward, because Skyward's not as up to date as it could be. For numerous reasons. Lots of times people change emails and don't tell us. Lots of times they're in wrong. There's just weird reasons why an email isn't working. So we feel we got a lot more respondents on this one, but some of the other parents are like, well, I already did that. So I think there's a little bit of disconnect. But having said that, we're still moving forward, the best we can with the information that we have. So does anybody have any questions about the survey results from the family? Okay. Then these are the teachers' answers, and they were 2 questions for the teachers. One, and there's only 11 responses, so I don't know if they're not checking their email. This went out last week one day. It went out last week. So option A was 5 days face-to-face, that's the blue. Your preferred instructional model, that's 27.3%. Option B is 4 face-to-face and 1 day virtual, and that is 64%, 63.6%. And then option C is 5 days face-to-face and an early release. So 9.1%. So basically that's one person. And then, because there's hardly anybody that answered this one. And then when asked about blue is 36.4%. I think it's important for all students to be in school as much as possible. So all students should attend 5 days a week. So of the respondents, there was 36.4% said all day, every day. Red is, I think that all students should have 1 full virtual day. So that's 64%, which pretty much matches up here. This red is 4 face-to-face, 1 virtual. And then orange is, I think that only the high school students should have 1 virtual day a week, and nobody chose that option of the 11. So does anybody have any questions about that?
Julie, that was just certified teaching staff, right?
Correct.
Said only 11 responded, Julie?
Yes,
Oh.
only 11 responded so far.
Okay,
So I'll be sending out an email reminder.
okay.
And I mean, I don't blame them because, you know, that some of them are on vacation. I happen to know one family's on vacation. I know one family's in Alaska right now. So, you know, people are on vacation. I get that.
Is it wrong to like not care either way, so not respond? Because like basically, like in my book, I can make either way work. Like I don't want to sway that we do one way or another when I'm kind of like neutral on both.
That's okay too. That doesn't hurt my feelings. I agree with you, Melissa. A lot of times it's just easier to not, you know, to not worry about it and not be the person that sways a vote. Some people are very, very like, it needs to be this way, in which case this is their way, this is how we can gather their opinion. But if you don't, you know, if you don't care, I guess I didn't given, doesn't matter to me how we teach. I'm here to teach. So that could have been a response, I guess. Maybe I should do that in my next surveys.
I mean, I see good things about going both ways, and I think you can sit and make an argument all day long about either way. To do that's what I'm going to do.
Melissa, can you say that again, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. I just said that I think you could sit and make arguments for both models all day long and have just as many arguments on the pro and con side of both of them. And so at the end of the day, I'm going to make either way work as long, you know, whatever, I guess, for those that are most passionate about it is, you know, that's kind of where I come down.
Right. I get that. And I guess to me, this is really telling that the parents want more than them. More parents want for their child 5 days in person than 4 days and 1 day in person. Or 1 day virtual.
I think what we have to think about with that though is if things don't improve, chances are we're going to end up with more virtual. Where if you have the 4 days face-to-face and you have the 1 day virtual, you would have time to talk to the students about how the virtual really works.
Yeah.
And I do have concerns that the staff is just going to be really overloaded, and it's I mean, none of this is easy, but it's, you know, if we start out with the 5 days and all of a sudden we're in kind of dire straits with what's going on and then have to backtrack, I think that's harder than starting out a little slower, which I don't consider 4 days a week slow, and then move forward. That's just my feelings.
You know, Linda, that's a really good point, because if you think about it, if we use that 1 virtual day a week as kind of like a mock training day for those kids, like, okay, if we were to go virtual, this is what your day would look like at a normal school day. If we kind of approach it that way, it might be a good way to kind of train those kids a little bit at a time of how it would look if we do have to do a complete virtual situation.
Also, I know there's not a ton of students doing 100% virtual, but when will teachers have time to check in? Understanding everything they need to understand. And I don't know, like with teacher prep periods, are they going to have to be babysitting students at that time? So maybe they could use that one virtual day as kind of a catch-up prep day.
Yeah, I just talked to a teacher today and the question was, so when I prep, I'll have students in my room. And yeah, probably. We can't just move them out for an hour. And that's why we decided to use the library as a teacher prep area. You know, yes, there might be elementary kids coming in and getting books once in a while, but it's going to be a lot less student traffic in here because the teachers really need to have that place to call their own if they have kids in their room. High school, middle school, sorry. Elementary will have people removing their kids and taking them places. High school won't have that, or at least not as much. Any other comments or questions on the surveys?
Julie, this is Kathleen. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
So one thing I just think parents need to, even though that they've overwhelmingly chosen 5 days, the reality is that we're going to hope that can happen for them. But if it comes that we are need to go virtual, I hope that they are still working out plans for that, even if it never happens. You know, what to do if I'm working and my child is now home. Even if it never happens, it's better to prepare for that than not.
I think at our last meeting, the one parent did speak up and say, and was kind of talking to the parents that were listening, that the situation is going to be different this year, and that you have to be prepared that your kids will probably be home more than they have in the past. Because if they do have snivels and things like that, they're not going to be able to come to school. And yes, and to be prepared versus all of a sudden say, well, if you had told me, yeah, I mean, it's just going to be different. And parents that are out there, as you talk to other parents, you have to kind of relay the message that, you know, kids may be home more than not, but they can learn because we do have the virtual tool.
All right, so again, I want to make sure everybody gets a chance to speak. Okay, so administration met again this morning just to talk about some things. We are finalizing some of the rooms. So one suggestion, so one of our third grade classes is kind of too big for their classroom. So we might do a little swapping around there, putting a third grade class in the choir room and moving the choir room to the reading room and giving Mrs. Andrea Newkirk a room because we're using her room for middle school. Again, that's not final, but we're just talking about that. Tent got delivered from Mrs. Barron's last week, so she has been using that for lessons and it has been working well. We did buy 2, so I think we're gonna buy a couple more. So in the outside, we will have the amphitheater. When it gets built, we'll have sunshades. The patio will also have sunshades. I think we should put a tent in the courtyard. there's a tree in there, but you know, it would be a nice place for a break for everybody. And if for example, choir wants to go in there, they could sing in there because it is outside. And then perhaps buying a tent for the front area to where the picnic tables are, kind of like to gear towards middle school just a little bit. If a class wants a break, they would have a place to be under a tent. Ms. Shane has all the elementary figured out that, for example, second grade, Mrs. Steinmetz's room, for one day they have a space. So if it's the softball field, then they're in the softball field all day that day. No other class gets that area. Then Mrs. Brewer's room is got the area between the softball field and the amphitheater. So that, again, that day, all day, they get to have that spot. They're socially distanced from other groups and each other. And then somebody else is on the playground so that those kids are using the same equipment all day. And then at night, we'll clean it. And then the next day, somebody else can use it. So things like that, we need to make sure we're also aware of. So does anybody have any comments or questions about that?
Well, if kids are going to be outside all day, aren't you going to have to deal with sunscreen and protection from that and everything?
Yeah, there's no way they're going to be outside all day, every day. There wouldn't be much learning going on. I mean, yes, you can teach in the outside, but to park your class out there isn't really fair to everybody else.
That was intended for their recesses, not to be instructed outside.
Gotcha. Thank
Sorry.
you.
Did I not say that?
No. Well, classes are outside sometimes, you know.
Yes.
So sure.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Did I share this chart with this group? No, I shared it with the board. So we've done a lot of stuff with high school. And we're gonna do this again later. Next week, Monday, we're gonna have a time for the high school teachers to come in and give us their 2 cents, because they're integral to the planning. But anything that is green boxed is a mixed class. I just have to hold it up. I'm trying to lay it down. And if it's yellow, it's an all group class, all one cohort. So as you can see, most of our classes are mixed. It's very hard to do. That's how we came upon the idea of a cohort, that all of the kids need to stay in the room and the teachers will travel. Just like the middle school. With some planning about, and stop me if I told you guys this, I'm sorry, I'm trying to remember everything I told everybody. So for example, we're going to use the Spanish room and the social studies room for the freshmen. And so they'll just report to that room and be there all day. Art room has 12th graders and Mr. Dupron's room has 12th graders. 10th grade is, 11th graders, 11th graders are in Mrs. Wanter's room and in the BE room, and they are alternating in the Ag room and FCE room. The reason for that is they have to use their room for small groups sometimes. If you're gonna cook, you kind of need a kitchen. If you're gonna do woodworking, you need to get to the wood and all the equipment. So between Mr. Favreau and Mrs. Sprecher, we figured if they didn't have kids in their room one day, they could pick a cohort of a class and take them and do a lab of some sort. And that will allow them a little bit more leeway in the ability to actually use their rooms for whatever they need to use their rooms for. Questions on that? So I guess I'd like to open up the questions. I don't really have a lot of new stuff for you guys. We're just still figuring out details.
Are we gonna get a schedule where the kids are gonna be?
Yep.
Like, in their new rooms?
Yep.
Okay.
Julie, has it been decided yet on whether middle school and high school will be using lockers or just backpacking everything?
We're hoping that they will backpack everything for safety.
It's interesting.
That way their books and everything can just stay in the room. They'll have assigned seats. And I don't know, it's up to the teacher in the room, but they could potentially trade seats every 3 days or something to get out of a corner or get into a corner. But they'll have their pile of books and their Chromebook and their backpack right there. The bus drivers are getting together next week to talk about specifics on the bus and what that's going to look like. We do need a full-time bus driver now. We lost one. That person took another position. The other thing I guess I can talk about if nobody has any questions is that we're pretty sure we have breakfast all set. So the idea is, because the kids are staying in their rooms, all first hours teachers, and there's extra time built into first hour, like 3 extra minutes or something, so that the kids can take attendance, and announcements are during first hour usually. And then the teachers will get printed sheets with all their kids' name and their little Scantron number. And what they'll do is they'll just mark, I need, 6 breakfasts for these 6 kids. The first, we're gonna do all bagged breakfasts, nothing hot delivered that way. Just unless we get really good at this, maybe in January, February, we'll try that. But for right now, we wanna make it easy for everybody. And so we'll have somebody run and go get all those sheets, and they'll scan the kids' names with their barcode and put so many breakfasts in a bag or a bin or something, and then those will be delivered to the doors. And when the teacher is ready, the sheet with who got the breakfast and the breakfast themselves are sitting outside the door, so then they can just pick them up and bring them into the room and serve the breakfast. When they're done serving, they can just take the bucket and put it back out in the hallway. And we feel that we can do that easily with the entire district for breakfast. Lunch, we're still working on. Lunch will also have, we think we're gonna do the same thing for lunch for the first 2 weeks, is just have a bag lunch. We just don't know how we're gonna get 440 kids fed. And you get an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. So we're gonna do bag lunches just for the first 2 weeks. And then we'll definitely do disposable when we add the secondary heated up entree. Those will have to be delivered down the hall and all that kind of stuff. So we're still kind of working that one out. But,
so Julie?
Yes.
It's Cheryl. I just wondered, how are they keeping track of who took what lunch? I mean, is someone going to key that into the system then?
Yeah, we have the new scanners now. There's 2 for the lunchroom, that if we print the sheets per teacher with everybody's name and their scanner number on it, all the person has to do is hold up the sheet and go, okay, here, this kid, this kid, this kid, and this kid got breakfast.
Okay.
It's just a printing thing.
Sure.
And then
Thank
we'll
you.
print enough for everybody to have it, 5 a week they'll need for breakfast and 5 a week for lunch when we get that far. And then we'll just deliver it right back in the bag so the teacher knows who got the breakfast when they arrive.
Okay, thanks.
Are they still able to take their own cold lunch from home?
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
I don't know what your kids are going to do, Sativa. You won't be able to
Me
deliver.
neither. They're panicking. They told me
Hours
to
every day.
sneak in.
Oh boy, those boys are going to just have to adapt, aren't they?
Yep. They're going to rough it for a little bit.
There you go.
You had said they were doing pretty good with the face masks, so you'll have to start practicing the lunch.
Yep.
Oh, I love that.
Oh.
So Julie, there's no before school breakfast anymore?
Nope.
Okay.
We decided to, part of it is that the school breakfast and lunch group that's a national thing, and they are allowing us to just provide lunch without choice. So that's helping. It takes kids twice as long, if not 3 or 4 times as long, to go through a line if they have to pick and choose. And we've decided that the best way to keep the kids safe is to feed them in their classrooms. So when they arrive at school, they'll go directly to the classroom. They won't need to, stop at the cafeteria. We won't have intermingling of grades and things like that. Off the bus, the elementary will probably go in by Mrs. Steinmetz's room. Middle school and high school will go to the other doorway, straight down from the bus by the vending machine over there. And then the kids won't be mingling as much. We do have a Buildings and Grounds Committee meeting tonight, and we're going to be looking at portable sinks as an option. I realize that every elementary classroom and many high school classrooms have sinks. I mean, a couple of them, I know there's 3 or 4 of them in the science room, and the same thing, there's at least 3 in the FCE room. So when kids need to wash their hands, that's nice. But, there's a lack of sinks in the middle school. And so to have an extra sink with water to wash your hands is important. We did buy some sanitizing stations, meaning it's just a stand-up. You can put it in a corner and the kid can walk by and get the hand sanitizer and wipe their hands down, so that as they're walking by, we can suggest that. But they say you can sanitize 3 times and then you gotta wash. It gets too sticky and you don't, it's not as effective then, especially if you're a little one and you've got your hands grubby. Putting hand sanitizer over sand and dirt it doesn't do the job, so they should wash their hands. All right, does anybody else have any questions? Because I am actually done.
I have a question about when you talked about the different entrances.
Yes.
So what's going to happen with the kids that drive to school so that their temperature gets taken, and then the kids that are dropped off by parents, is that going to happen right at the car that their temperature is taken?
Yes. So kids that are getting, for those of you who don't know, the kids that are getting on the bus, there will be somebody on the bus to temperature check them before they get on. And then if the kids are being dropped off by a vehicle, we'll temp check the kids in the vehicle, and before they even get out, we'll know if anybody has a fever, then that whole car can just drive right back home. And then the kids that are coming via a vehicle and they're parking it in the north parking lot, those kids will all walk through the front entrance, and we have a walk-through thermometer ordered. So they'll walk through it and it'll take their temperature, and if it goes off, they can just turn right around before they even enter the building, really. We want to put it between the doors in the foyer there. I know there's a name for that. What is the name for that? I keep forgetting what that is. Between 2 doors, what's that name?
Alcove.
The alcove.
Vestibule.
That'll work.
Foyer.
Thank you. So they're all getting temperature checked before they come in the building. We're asking staff to take their own temperature, but if they come in the front door, they can walk through and get their temperature taken that way. I think we're gonna start getting the message out to the parents that, you know, if you're sick, if your child's sick, please keep them home. You know, if they're not feeling well, that's the big key. Please keep them home until they feel well. Washing hands, social distancing, and wearing masks. Those are our big 4 things. And
Now, if you keep them home from being sick, do you need a doctor's excuse to let them back into school?
No.
Okay.
We will, so we are mandated reporters on this issue. If a child shows up with a fever, we have to report that to the county. So we will, and we'll, if the child, you know, like I said, if anybody drives up with a fever in a car, we'll just tell everybody in the car, because they've already been exposed, unless they're all wearing masks in the car, they've been exposed to each other. And unless they, you know, very rarely are they 2 minutes away. It's 15 minutes. It makes more sense to send the whole car home, tell the county, they'll talk to the people in the car. And we don't know, maybe the very next day, 3 of them will show back up. Without a fever, there's no sense in turning them away. Because they're very particular on, if you've been exposed, it's not just like I walked past you. You have to be within 6 feet for 15 minutes, usually unmasked. So there are some parameters around that, but so we aren't gonna make those calls. We're just gonna say there's a fever in the car, please go home. Same thing if a kid comes in, walking in, we're gonna have them turn right around. Who came with you? Okay, you guys all go home, and we'll make sure your parents know you're on your way. And that's just a safeguard. That's just a very easy way. And we know most people don't have, I shouldn't say most, at least half of the people don't even get symptoms. So a fever is not gonna show up. So it's just one small measure.
One other thing I'd like to interject is that if a child shows symptoms or is at home and not feeling well, to avoid an absence, that student will then participate virtually. And as long as the student participates virtually, interacts with the classroom teacher, turns in assignments, engages in online discussion forums that the teachers will have set up, that student's day will count as in attendance, even though maybe he or she had a symptom that he was denied coming to the building.
Good point. Thank you, Kathleen.
We don't want to flood the clinic, but we also don't, we are still bound to our attendance laws, and thus the reason for the virtual option. So just something to keep in mind, that if a child shows symptoms at home and you're like, oh, we've already had 3 days out, don't send them. They'll be denied at the building, and then they're still out. Just plan to have that day as a virtual day and have your child participate that way.
So Julie, you said one child in the car has a temperature. We send the whole car home, but a couple of the kids may have a mask on, but we don't make that determination, right? We just send them all home.
Yeah.
Mask on. Okay.
Correct. We're just trying to make it easy for the people that are taking the temperatures. They're just the line of defense. They're not, they're not the health experts. They're not, most of them will probably be paraprofessionals. And we're just trying to keep everybody in the building safe. So if if those kids go home and, or are returned to wherever they came from, or maybe they have to go to grandma and grandpa's and they're fine all day, they can come back the next day.
Okay.
We can't mandate testing, and we're certainly not going to mandate testing for them to get back in the building. That's not our call.
So just a quick question regarding Kathleen's comment about if the kids are sent home or you choose to keep them home. Would those parents still call in, like if they have not selected today? And then I guess I'm just trying to teachers' point of view, like how that would work.
So what we're trying to do is we're going to create a new way of attendance or a new code. So we're going to have a virtual presence attendance. And
Perfect.
while a child might not be in the building, we don't know that they're, the office isn't going to know and the first hour teacher isn't going to know. So we will mark them absent, just like normal. And then throughout the day, if the child is participating in the classes like they're supposed to,
okay,
then we will change it to a virtual present, a VP we think we're going to have if we can do that as a code. And so they're still present because they're working on their homework and doing things. And the 3 teachers saw them in a class today on a computer. That means that they're present and they're doing their homework, and that's still a day of school for the child.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Awesome.
Mine is unstable.
Any other questions?
Julie, will there be any parking down at the community gym this year, or is all students should be in the north parking lot?
I think we're going to have all students be in the north parking lot. I think I would like all the staff to be in the north parking lot also, but part of it's not going to be paved quite yet. So I'm going to reserve judgment until I can count how many actual spots we have.
Based on last year and when they redid the parking stalls, there was plenty of spots for all students and all teachers.
Okay. It's safer. You're closer to the building. You don't have to walk across a bunch of open land and dodge cars. So insurance companies like that. Last call for questions. Or if there's something else you guys think I should address next week. Next week, Monday, we do have another board meeting. They all make some decisions based on, Linda's been in on this from the beginning, so she'll give her opinion and she always talks about how these meetings go and the questions you guys bring up. So it's very helpful for the rest of the board to hear that. And then we'll show them surveys results. They might change between then and now, we don't know. And we'll get another week closer to school starting. I guess that's it. No other questions. All right, you guys. I'll get ready for my next meeting. Have a great afternoon, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.